So, 100 Years of Solitude, the novel written by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. The biography of the writer we have learned in our previous class, and the biography was varied with so many experiences. In the same way, the novel, this is the important novel written by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And this novel is also full of several kinds of complexities, especially for the presentation of magic and reality, for the presentation of surrealism, for the presentation of fantasy, for the presentation of satiric presentation towards the social norms, everything. And the novel is written in 12 parts, but Gabriel Garcia Marquez didn't put any number of this novel. Naturally, novel is written in 7 parts, and the 7 parts are called chapters. But there is no chapter in this novel. And here we see that 20 parts, but these parts are not named. So we can call this a section. So actually, we're trying to look at the happenings of section 1 to 4. The novel begins with a retrospective. That means to reminiscent of past incidents, and then it goes to the present world and the present story, just like flashback, just like telling the story of past. The colonel Aureliano Buendia faces a firing squad, and he remembers the first time that his father took him to see ice. So this is the omniscient narrator who describes the most of the incidents from his memory. And when someone describes something from his memory, some sort of imaginative thing comes through the narration that we see in this novel. It is a flashback, and through the flashback, we reader, come to the present incidents or scenario. Makando is described as a place on no map. In fact, it is more a direction than a location. So, how come it will be possible in the 21st century? No place of this world is undiscovered. Every place is discovered, but the place Makando, what we'll be talking in this novel, this Makando is not in world map. That is, it is somewhere else that we will be dealing the story of a place. And it is so rooted in the past, where time has stopped still, and that the town has a prehistoric atmosphere. So we see that in case of T.S. Eliot, we have found that T.S. Eliot has spoken about in his Wasteland. He has spoken about the time past, time present, and time future. So future, present, and past, these 3 phases of time is liquidified, has been liquidified in T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland. In the same way, here we see that in the novel written by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, 100 Years of Solitude, the time has been liquidified, the time has been stopped over there. And when time has been stopped, that the aspects of the thing go like the same way. Note that the town bears a close resemblance to the memory of a dream or only in memory. Does time not move? And in a dream, when a dream is remembered, it is some place, really no place. Okay, so as I have mentioned that when you will be speaking about the time and dream, naturally, according to the description of interpretation of dream, the Sigmund Freud was he has interpreted the dream, the Sigmund Freud, that he has said that actually uh, the length of every dream is 3 seconds, and in these 3 seconds we see many things in dream, but in reality, the place we see in dream has no identification. In the same way, Gabriel Garcia Marquez's the novel starts with a dream presentation. And so the dream is a place where cannot be mentioned in actual life. Same kind of scenario we have seen that Makandu is a place, and that place name and the location is connected from Gabriel Garcia Marquez's dream, or the narrator's omniscient narrator's dream. So it has no location on dream, and it has no location in real shape or in the real world map. Fantastic. So Makandu, there is seemingly magic everything. Magic. So magic is opposite to reality. So we are not ready to believe magic. But in Makando, everywhere we see magic, and it goes in such a way, magic goes in such a way that we are not in a position to believe something just like that. In case of uh, St. Correges, the rhyme of the ancient mariner. So the willing suspension of this belief, naturally we believe that such kind of incident cannot be happened in case of uh, St. Coleridge. And in St. Coleridge is the rhyme of the ancient mariner, we have seen that uh, the dead body still stood up, and they curse the ancient mariner. It is not possible in our working life, but through the presentation of stakeholders, we are intent, we are tent, we are very much ready to believe, yeah, such kind of incident might happen in uh, reality. Actually, uh, that willing suspension of disbelief, same kind of scenario we see in this novel, that is Gabriel Garcia Marquez's novel, that is magic. Magic cannot be believed. Magic cannot be perceived through the real terms. However, in Makando village, magic is everywhere, and magic predominates and pervades everything. And also the solitude. Whenever, naturally, if we ask someone else, that is, do you believe in ghost? Other people will say, no, I don't believe in ghost. But whenever I stay alone in my flat, I feel a little bit afraid of something. That means he will say that I don't believe in ghost. However, such kind of solitariness, such kind of loneliness makes me a feeling of afraid, and such kind of afraid indirectly tells that he or she believes in ghost. In the same way, magic is opposite to reality. Magic cannot be believed. Magic cannot be explained with real terms. But in Makando place, magic is everywhere, and magic perfects everything. And for this reason, um, everyone is very much ready to believe such kind of magic thing with relation to reality, and that is magic realism. and the village is located out civilization. So if we say that the earliest civilization, Roman civilization, Greek civilization, and the other civilization, uh, so all the civilization, this village is out of all this civilization, and naturally the ways of living are very much primitive, very much ancient ways of living. They live, the people of this village live. And this village is situated behind the mountain, and that lead to the ancient city of Rayo, Ryohacha, a place that many years ago was home of the Buendia ancestors. So in Makandu village, we see a village, a long heritage family. That family member's name, and that family is called Buendia family. And that Buendia family has come here in this place, that means the Makandu village, from another ancient city, and that name of that ancient city is Ryohacha. So Ryohacha is a city from where the Buendia family has come to this place on which we are speaking. That we are speaking a place, and the name of the village is Makundo village. And this Makundo village is not in civilization, out of civilization, and behind a mountain. And in the same way, the when their ancestor city, that is Rayonhacha, was also an ancient city like the village Makando. And that city, Rayonhacha, the first city of Buendia family, was attacked by Sir Francis Drake. And another thing, they for which when their family left their place for this attack by Sir Francis Drake, and another thing, they fear of incest. That means the incestual physical relationship that had happened, that is the fear in the family members of Buendia. So one reason that the city Rayonhasa was attacked by Sir Francis Drake, and another important reason of leaving the village, that is fear. Fear of what? That means fear of making physical relation with very close family members, with very close relationship that might not be approved by even the ancient culture. Even the ancient culture, the village where, or the city, that city was out of civilization. In that civilization, physical relations should be done with some far female members, not someone who will be the member of the same family or the same clan, or especially the very close family member. So such kind of physical relationship also created fear in the mentality of a primitive city like Raivasa. And that fear and the attack by Sir Francis Drake, for these two reasons, the Buendia ancestors left the city Ryohasa and came in this village. And the name of the village is Makando. And Makando is a place where magic is everywhere, and magic is overlapping with another kind of magic. So it's a fable-like description done by the uh, narrator, and that fable cannot be believed. However, um, it is an incident that the narrator has been describing the past incidents. Uh, when we finish the novel, the final goal there to reach manhood will realize that Melquiades manuscripts written in codes and Sanskrit tell the history in advance of the Buendia family, its fortune and its collapse. So we were in the past, but next time we come in the present. At present, when the novel Naturally, novel covers the storyline of 20, more than 20 to 40 years. Just like we see that uh, in case of Heathcliff, we see that Heathcliff whole lifespan, Emily Bronte's Heathcliff, uh, whole lifespan is covered within the novel. In the same way, in this novel, we see the two or three generations of Buendia family. And when the novel ends, we'll see that Buendia's family's family member, will get a written document. And that document is done by another gypsies, and the gypsy's name is Melquiades. And that gypsy gave a script that is written in Sanskrit. So here we see that when the novel is written, if novel is written on the village, that village is out of civilization, how such kind of Sanskrit language, that means a language usually used in Indian subcontinent, that language is done there. And in that Sanskrit language, that can be decoded by the young Buendia family members who can study that coding and can understand that what will be happening with their family and what is the fortune and the negative sides of their family. They can unveil the last Buendia young members can decode the fortune of Buendia family. So we are shifting towards present and past, and in such a way that we are hovering from we are fluctuating from the present scenario and the past scenario, and that is done for the of the fable-like presentation of the omniscient narrator. And we realize that there is a doom sensitivity within each Buendia, of which is unaware. So we see that in Buendia family members, we have something uncanny, something ghostly, something full of something full of something full of magic. And it means that the Buendia family is always haunted. The family members of Buendia family are always haunted uh, by a negative or doomed sense of guilt, or doomed sense of fear, and doomed sense of isolation and solitariness. And such kind of unaware doomed situation, um, the Buendia family, um, from the very beginning to the novel, to the end to the novel, was the Buendia family was haunted by un, uh, such kind of fear, isolation, and solitariness. Thus, we begin ironically with Makando's being founded as a sort of a new Eden. Physically, it resembles Eden and its patriarch, Jose Arcadio the First. Look here, and this Arcadio family is the founder of this Buendia family, and they and established this village, that is Makando village. And Makando village cannot be compared with the Garden of Eden or the paradise. And who is the founder of this village? That is Jose Arcadio the First. As we have told that Gabriel Garcia Marquez, full name is Gabriel Jose Marquez. So such kind of Jose or Jose. uh, so Jose Arcadia the First is the founder of this place. It is strong and confident that it will flourish. So the founder of this place, Jose Arcadia the First, he was very much confident that one day this place will be successful. in terms of time. And he is imbued with a sense of destiny. However, that after 100 years, it will end in oblivion. He dreams of a town with mirrors for walls. Thus, he begins the trek that leads to the town's initial site, and the mysterious point commands him to found Makando on a particular site. So, Joseph Arcadio the First, who was the ancestors of Buendia family. And already we have learned for two kinds of reasons. One, this place or the city was attacked by Sir Francis Drake, and another one, they had a fear of incestual relationship. For these two reasons, they are commanded. That means the Buendia family ancestors were commanded to leave the place and to establish a place where the walls will be made of mirror, and that uh, city will of course be progressive, will of course be successful in terms of time. It was also be told in their dream fraction. So it was told by a voice, a mysterious voice, to uh, uh, establish a village that will be like that. And also they told the site where they are supposed to establish the village. And so ordinary relationship between things become scrambled and produced an improbable yet a marvelous sense of magical reality. That means, can it be possible that all the walls of a city will be made of mirror? It cannot be. But in terms of uh, uh, dream and in terms of some mental states, so what might be happening in the situation that uh, in winter season, if anybody becomes afraid, then he or she starts sweating. Is it possible that uh, sweating can be done, or sweating might happen in a physical for the cause of winter? No, cannot be. But it happens for the psychological, uh, when a human being becomes afraid, so much afraid, then the physical organ, especially the heart, it starts running quickly. And for this reason, it starts working quickly. And that fast running of heart makes the body sweat. So in the same way, such kind of city cannot be held, cannot be done in reality. But for the cause of afraid, and such kind of afraid was haunted the Boethia family. And for this reason, they wanted to establish a city, Makonda village, and that village, all of the walls will be made of mirror. And such kind of blending of magic and realism. Magic, but with a touch of reality we see in this uh, novel. Uh, so they left the city, they left the town, and the name of the town, that is Riohacha, and they started going. And abruptly, they found a Spanish galleon. Uh, Actually, Spanish galleon is a square vehicle or ship used by the Spanish soldiers. So they found on their way, that is a Spanish galleon. That means they left Rayahasa village and they are going towards a village that is Makanda village. Adorned with orchids and spelling of solitude and oblivion. Solitude, that means uh, uh, such kind of one kinds of uh, flower. It's called orchid. You know the orchid flower. So the sail and the Spanish gallon, the ship was decorated with orchids, but the smell of the flower is just like solitude or oblivion of that flowers. The ship has sat rotting in the jungle, clearing for centuries, and we are told by the narrator the ship is the same one which Colonel Aureliano Buendia will discover years later during the long series of civil wars when he commanders. So again, so this ship has been rotting in this place, but there is an indication of this ship through the past history of uh, Arcadio, the Jose Arcadio the first, that he is a colonel, and once upon a time he took part in the war, and he had been participant with such kind of a ship, especially with this ship. So the past and the present, they are watching this ship, but that ship indicates that with the same ship, Jose Arcadio had been fighting when he was in army. So very funny. The settlers encounter with the ship foreshadows and also uh, apocalyptic fate of the colonel and provides the first section with the dramatic momentum. So the presentation of the ship, that is the past and the present, and related to the history of Jose Arcadio the first, the colonel. He had been fighting in um, the battlefield, and he had been fighting within the same ship they were encountered. So the a band of people, they left Rayahasa village and they are going to establish a new village, that is Makando, and through their way they are encountered with a ship. But the relation between the ship, that within this same ship, colonel had been fighting many years back. Can it be possible? It cannot be possible. Macondo, with its Eden-like isolation, is a place of solitude. Solitude out of there is no man. Yet the town to be has beckoned the settlers of its extreme isolation. So one solitude, that means it is no man here there. And isolation, that means it's isolated from somewhere else. So solitariness is um, uh, where you will not see many people. But isolation, if someone is isolated from the other parts of this world. So the Makando village, in one hand, it is isolated, and another hand, it is solitary. Makando's remoteness is described in the mythopoetic language of the book of Genesis, and Gabriel Marquez language evokes primitive yearning. So such kind of description of Makando village puts the reader to the primitive description of a village or the primitive setting of a story. However, Makando cannot be compared with a prison cell or a paradise, less a paradise than a prison cell. That is, the settlers become so much of the town's raw and pre-human nature, they suffer psychocultural condition in which they are not modern men, nor are they savages. So the people living within the village, that is the Makando village, they are not modern men because the village is isolated and separated. And also they are not the primitive man as well. So they are within the middle between the primitive civilization and the modern civilization. And there the civilization has also been stuck to a certain situation, in a certain circumstances. And they are simply uniquely different, suspended in time. Common things become lost because the names describing their use are forgotten. And this is a village where people forget everything, especially I am using a mobile phone. Abruptly, I have forgotten the name of these documents. And what is this? How can it be possible? For the cause of solitariness, for the cause of isolated village, so the people starts forgetting the name of everything in the village. And in this way, they are losing their memory, they are forgetting everything. So gradually, they are moving towards the world of oblivion. Why? Things from the civilized world or the past history have either been forgotten or are deemed so new that it becomes necessary to put a point because things have not yet received a name. Actually, it either uh, they have forgotten the name of this mobile phone, the Markanda village, or they see it in such a thing that this thing hasn't been used earlier. So it's a new thing. And it happens only for the reason that they are out of their memory. They are in the world of oblivion. They are in the world of isolation and psychological isolation as well. So we may consider this observation a wary and perhaps fanciful one, but upon reflection, we would have to concede that our lives are, in fact, full of encounters with things for which we lack identified names. That is the things, how such kind of thing can be related to uh, our real life. And that is the notion, that is the idea of magic realism with which the modern world is very much fascinated. And then such kind of incidents of oblivion can be compared with our real life. What is the real life? Suppose you know one of your friends for many years, and if your friend starts doing a thing that you can't even imagine, and even you can even identify that it is he is your friend or she is your friend. So such kind of thing cannot be done earlier. That means either you have forgotten your friend, or either you've forgotten your friend, that person that who was doing this thing is a new one. Actually, he was or she was not your friend at all. So that our lives are, in fact, full of encounters with things for which we lack identifying names. So things wish to describe, and it becomes necessary to point. So, in such a way, the incidents of 100 years of solitude will relate to our personal life and relate to the real life of human being. The gypsy Melquiades brings invention to Makando abruptly in this village. A gypsy comes with the idea of invention and said that they will be making some magnets and magnifying glass and the size of a drum and a big size of magnifying glass they are gonna make. So the gypsy comes. And later, other gypsies will bring sewing machine that reduces fevers. Okay, look here. Sewing machine, magnet, okay, that's okay. And the magnifying glass, that's also okay. Magnifying glass necessarily is small in size, and this small glass will make the thing look bigger. But this magnifying glass itself is very big, as big as a drum. So again, such kind of fantasy or such kind of funny things. Again, the sewing machine, the gypsy comes with the um, idea of discovery. They comes up with a sewing machine, and the specialty of this sewing machine is that it will reduce the fever of human body. How funny! And then finally, they will bring the world's largest and the more gathering hot diamond ice, and they comes up with ice. And as we have said that this village is isolated and solitary. This village is isolated from civilization, and the number of people living in this village are few. And in summer season, every time this village is visited by gypsies, and these gypsy through these gypsy the village people get the idea of discovery, get the idea of knowledge. And what are the knowledge? The knowledge done by the gypsy person are very much fantastic. The magnifying glass and the sewing machine and also the diamond ice. In addition, the gypsy Melquiades gives the Petrarch, that means Jose Arcadio the First, a Sanskrit manuscript that we have taught it earlier. So the gypsy will spark the Petrarch with the ambition to acquire knowledge and power. Okay, so when the Melquiades, the gypsy person, handed over a Sanskrit manuscript to Jose Arcadio the First, that he is going to get some superpower and ambitious. Actually, Jose Arcadio First doesn't study or doesn't uncode or cannot decode the Sanskrit manuscript. However, he had a feeling that this manuscript will tell the fortune of Arcadio family, and for this reason, the Arcadio, the Jose Arcadio the First, thinks that one day he will be famous and very ambitious, and he become ambitious of acknowledging knowledge and gaining power. So such kind of two ancient power of knowledge and the power of administration, two kinds of ambition came to Jose Arcadio the First after getting this manuscript. Okay, so the Melquiades, however, Melquiades however, is a benign wizard rather than a Mephistopheles. So Mephistopheles, there is a comparison over there. Melquiades is a wizard, and Mephistopheles was also a wizard, and this character is used by Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, the Elizabethan dramatist in the tragedy. And the did, Mephistopheles gave the idea to Dr. Faustus that you have to enjoy everything, and one day you have to die. So life and death, such kind of combination, and with that spirit, Mephistopheles got the bond signed by Dr. Faustus that one day he will die. Dr. Faustus became infatuated to have the power of enjoyment and everything, signed the bond. In the same way, Melquiades is a little bit different over there. He is a benign wizard. However, he does inspire Jose Arcadio the First with the Faustian dream to leading Macondo out of his limbo-like isolation. So, and actually, Melquiades gave the idea to Jose Arcadio the first that one day, with the help of some magic, with the help of some knowledge, you will get this village out of this isolation. This village will be a village of improvement, the development and progress one day. So such kind of ambition was put by Melquiades to Jose Arcadio. Such a goal requires the supernatural wisdom and power. So it would appear to the Petrarch that only the gypsies possess. So, and actually, the people living in this village, they had such kind of belief that uh, only gypsies had the supernatural power. Indeed, one of the gypsy tribes is reputed to have been wiped off the face of the earth for having transcended all knowledge. Okay, so it was perceived by the Makondo village people that the gypsy men are very much powerful and they can uncover the secret of every human knowledge. That report will later prove ambiguous and fantastic, as will the report of the first death of Melquiades. Okay, so the people of Malpedo, they thought that gypsies are powerful in terms of magic. They are powerful. Okay, and so they have supernatural power. And if they have supernatural power, they can dominate death. So Mephistopheles suggests Dr. Faustus to sign a bond between life and death, but we didn't have idea what happened to Mephistopheles. So Mephistopheles had the supernatural power and he will not die. But here we see that Melquiades is a gypsy, and the people thought that he had supernatural power, but abruptly he dies. So such kind of information gave the villagers that this is ambiguous and fantastic. That is the Melquiades sense of power, the Melquiades' supernatural power. Everything seems ambiguous, and the narrator is hesitant and reluctant yet always convincing. There is a kind of facetious, sardonic quality to the fantasy as well as to the humor. So in one hand, we see the sardonic quality, and also we also have the humoristic quality of this presentation. When Malquiades is reported dead, the author describes that gypsy is being devoured by squid, the one kind of sea animal. How would the narrator know about the squid? So it is a village, and the village is out of civilization. So the narrator who is narrating the village, he himself is a member of this Markanto village. But the narrator described that the Malquiades has been eaten by squid. So it was a sea animal. So sea animals idea cannot be can be aligned to the narrator, but we see that he said. But the point of telling how Malquiades died is mocking and funny. More important, the gypsy's demise exposes his apprentice Jose Arcadio the First to the other gypsies bedelving sorcery. So, but Jose Arcadio again became the apprentice, and he believed in the sorcery. That is Melquiades' success. Another incident in the Markandeya village, that is The fear is a constant leitmotif or theme of this novel. The fear of incest provides an impetus for the peculiar when their travel. So, as we have said that this for the cause of fear, the when their family left their previous place, that is previous city, the Rayavasa, and they came in this place. But in this village also, we see that fear is a constant motive and the constant theme in this novel. And this fear actually relates with Ursula Iguaran's fear of sexual relation with her husband. So why such kind of fear came in Buendia's family? The Buendia's family member, that is Ursula Iguarana, had was afraid that uh, the and for their families had intermarried for centuries, and one such union had produced a child with a pig's tail. So the family member, this Arcadio family member, many years ago, had a marriage between very close uh, family members, and for this reason, they gave birth a son, a child with pig's tail. And again, Ursula was gripped with the fever because Ursula Ursula is married also to a close members of their family. And such kind of fear is always in her mentality. And for the cause of this fear, Ursula always wears a chastity belt, and that belt was locked with a heavy uh, lock. She wears a chastity belt and with a thick iron padlock. Padlock means lock. And why did she do it? Because of fear. On the other hand, the result of incest and inbreeding are well known and feared in even the most primitive human societies. So actually, as we have learned a little bit, that means incestual relationship is also a matter of afraid, even in the primitive societies that we see in Ursula. So Ursula has a marriage with a close family members, and for this reason, she thought that have she will give birth a child having pig's tail, and that is an ominous sign for the family members, and for this reason, they they didn't communicate, they didn't consummate their physical relationship, and she preserved her virginity. But it is important to realize the reason why Wendias have been participating, practicing incest of centuries is because of their isolation. And if we if we uh, in one hand we can say that their family, when their family or their family is haunted by the fear. But why fear comes? Again, we goes up to fear. Fear comes for the cause of incestual physical relationship. And why incestual relationship comes? Incestual relationship comes for the cause of isolation. They have been termed a solitude for a very long time. So the few family members are there are few number of people, and this condition becomes even more characteristics even their lives of Mankandu. So the likelihood of incest is therefore more probable than in civilized, more populous communities, because social isolation makes incestual affinity inevitable. When the number of female is few, when the number of male is few, so among the family members, such kind of tension and such kind of incestual physical relationship is inevitable. And for this reason, the loneliness of Wendia makes is ultimately impossible for them to share their affection with anyone from the outside, because the people living in this place, Makondo, is out of civilization. Nobody would visit this village. So they had to do their physical relationship with the family members or the close one. So such kind of desire, physical desire, they couldn't overcome, and even they couldn't manage a female from outside the clan, from outside, from a distance relation. So incestual relationship is inevitable in this society, and this incestual relationship goes them to the state of afraid. They become fearful, and that afraid becomes put them in the world to believe in magic or reality. So people like uh, uh, Pia, pianola expert, the mechanical piano expert, Petro Crespi, are always strangers and are easily rejected, especially for romantic involvement with a member of the Buendia family. So there is another analogy that the member, the Pietro Crespi, is a mechanical piano expert. So he visits here, but um, it is not possible to make marriage relationship with the Buendia family. So what we think that the incestual relationship is inevitable, according to Gabriel Garcia Marquez, is inevitable in a solitary family or in a work where the number of family members is very few. This kind of intense interfamilial affection literally consumes the entire family attention. So whenever, like here, actually, we should make an analogy over here. If a family gets uh, gets a disabled child, that disabled child becomes the attention of all family. In the same way, if a family goes such kind of interfamilial incestual physical relation, so such kind of relations becomes the point of interest to the whole family. So the Buendia family, we see that the incestual relationship between Ursula and Buendia, Ursula and uh, the other member of this family, this fear, this incestual relationship, the incestual marriage become a state of fear and become a point to note or point to give emphasis of the whole Buendia family or whole Jose Arcadia family. And in the end, such incestual energy diverts the family from the task of self-preservation. And when these incidents makes the family members less confident or less perseverance. Incest becomes claustrophobia, a means of compelling the family to remain together forever to finally return to the fold. So just kind of, so incestual relationship put a family in a claustrophobia. So many people become afraid if they enter into the lift, because in the lift there is a claustrophobic situation, but it's a phobia. Okay. And when a family enters into such kind of incestual relationship, their family suffers from some claustrophobic situation, and that we see we in their family. So there is an incredible tone of the narrator of the outlandish fact of the Buendia genealogy. The first Buendia The first Buendia Iguarana coupling was related to Sir Francis Drake attack on Riowacha. Generation later, the grandmother still feared similar assault, so the family moved to a village where the Buendias lived. There begins the incestual union that resulted a Buendia being born with a pigtail. Centuries later, Ursula Iguaran still fears such a child. So, in the family tradition, first fear came for the attack of Sir Francis Drake, and next, for the two generations, they are afraid of such kind of incestual fear. But her chastity, belt makes her husband the butt of the local jokes concerning his manhood. So the situation, every people makes fun of this person, Jose Ursula's husband. So following a cockfight, a sullen loser, Prudencio Aguilar makes a humiliating insult to Ursula's husband, and the Ursula's husband prompts the Buentius Petrarch to uh, thrust his spear through Aguilar's throat. So when the loser, Prudencio Aguilar, makes fun that you are living, makes fun about his marriage life with Ursula. Ursula's husband is the prime leader of Buendia family. He became very much angry and put the spear on Aguilar's throat, and he was killed. So such kind of incidents is exclaimed by Gabriel Garcia Marquez as a Freudian whimsy. And yet the incident is one of the incredible violence. So such kind of part of the horror is relieved by the robust humor with which Gabriel Garcia Marquez narrates the ritualistic way that Jose Arcadio first handles the spear. Following the murder, Jose Arcadio the first and the Ursula at last consummate their marriage. So that is after that incident that Jose Arcadio the first killed Aguilar, and after that incident, their marriage relation was consummate. Actually, the ghost of Aguilar continues to suffer the spear wounds in the thoughts, and he comes to haunt the Buendia households. So after the killing, every time the Aguilar ghost comes and haunts the Buendia family and households, and every time he comes to Ursula and asks to give a flag to put the throat, put in his throat, and or else she finds him wandering through the house looking for a glass of water. So every day, the uh, ghost of the dead man or the killed person, Aguilar's ghost, comes and asks for a glass of water to Ursula and asks for a flag to put in the vacant position of his throat. Okay. So Aguilar's ghost become an intolerable presence, and yet his ghost becomes an extension of the couple's psychological guilt and fears. Okay, actually, such kind of naturally, why people see someone ghost. There are two kinds of killer. One hardened killer and another is a killer, simply killer. In case of Lady Macbeth, we have seen that after killing King Duncan, he became uh, mad. He had, she had the uh, disease of sleepwalking. And same situation actually happens if a common man. And why it happens so? Lady Macbeth said, all the perfume of Arabs, if you put in my hand, you can rub, or you can rub away the smell of blood out of my hand, because with my same hand, I have killed the king. Okay, so this incident happened for the cause of the freak of conscience to Lady Macbeth. In the same way, why Agula's ghost comes and visits Ursula. Ursula and Wendy household, they had been suffering from the mental agonies. And this mental agonies, for the cause of this mental agonies, and for the cause of this mental agonies, every time the Ursula's ghost visited the household of Guinevere. So such kind of intention, if a common man who didn't kill a person earlier, if he commits a kill accidentally, he become mad like Guinevere family, like Guinevere, Jose Arcadio the first and Ursula. But uh, same kind of person, if the person commits killing after killing, then the prick of conscience will not be severe, and then he will not be mad. So কেউ একটা খুন করেই যখন পাগল হয়ে যায় তখন তার বিবেকের দংশন, কিন্তু যখন কেউ একটার পরে একটা খুন করে তখন তার বিবেকের দংশনটা বিবেক আর তত আহ তাকে নাড়া দেয় না, এজন্য তখন সে সেটা শুয়ে যায়। এবং কেউ যদি অনেক বেশি কিল করে তাকে বলা হচ্ছে হার্ড এন্ড কিলার, আর কেউ যদি একটা কিল করে তাকে বলা হচ্ছে কিলার। ইন কেস অফ Ursula and the Buendia family, especially the Jose Arcadio class, they commit a kill, and for the cause of their peak of conscience, Ursula's goes to visited their family members. And in the 19th century masterpiece, here say Robin, French novelist Emily Zola has the dead husband of an adulterous wife appear in the miracle from uh, the guild so as to haunt both wife and lover. So such kind of incidents, naturally, Gabriel Garcia Marquez has imitated. So you see that French novelist Emily Zola's writing, we see such kind of incident that the dead man's ghost will come and visit the killer. So that is the situation we see in Gabriel Garcia Marquez also. The use of ghost in 100 Years of Solitude, however, is not tragic. It is comic, and the humor of the Aguilar's ghost appearing, suggesting something very much absurd, like the absurd humor of the film, the Rocky Horror motion picture. So such kind of scene we see. Yet the ghost in a scene somewhere terrifying to the Buendias. One night, for example, the couple cannot endure the appearance of the apparition any longer, and so they flee, and thus they began to track that leads to the founding of Makando. So again, still we are in the Rayumacha village, and they left the village, and for the cause of this fear, they left the village, and they uh, went to establish the village Makando. Jose Arcadia. So when they comes to the village Makando, Jose Arcadio II is born on the expedition through the jungle. Presumably, he was conceived the night Aguilar was killed. And Jose Arcadio I literally raped his wife because of her accursed chastity belt. And the narrator, however, never delves into the motive behind Ursula's concession to her husband. She simply submits to the masculine passion and to the brutal yet comic expression of Latin and uh, machismo. Machismo. So this is an expression that means in order to show the power of a man. At this point, here the plot takes a significant new direction. Jose Arcadio dreams of a city with walls of mirror. So in a scene reminiscent of Moses receiving the Ten Commandments and the voice of the wanderers, command Jose Arcadio the first to find the Makando on a specific plot of the ground. So when the day uh, Arcadio Aguilar was killed by Jose Arcadio the first, after some time, they left the village, and on the way to the village Makando, Jose Arcadio II, the son, was born. And that is through the village, Jose Arcadio first got a commandment to establish a village in which way the village can be built, and that can be compared with the Moses 10 commandments. Actually, this is a Hebrew Bible, such kind of commandments. This is Hebrew Bibles written 10 commands for the Christianity. Okay, so these are the 10 commandments done by the Moses. So, uh, so in the same way, Jose Arcadio, the Arcadio the first got the commandment in which way he has to establish the village. There the town springs up and immediately it sinks into isolation. Jose Arcadio's second birth is followed by the birth of Aureliano, who will become the colonel. And Amaranta is born later. Until the arrival of the gypsies, there is merely a primitive tribal kind of existence. So we see that as the Faulkner's mythical country of Yakunapata, not much happens in Makando. The atmosphere suggests rote and repeated occurrence in the same action, the same faces, and even in the same names and the members of the family, same family. Relations are fraught with the incestual overtones, sexual energy, rather than love, permeates the fabrics of the social content. So in this village, naturally, um, names are repeated, and actually the sexual relationship rather than love has become the social phenomena of that society. A number of narrative spirals from the internal central core began to emerge. To the horror of the mother, Jose Arcadio II and the fortune teller and the housekeeper Pilar Tenera began in affair. So again, another kind of relationship develops. Ursula's intervention causes Jose Arcadio I flee with the departing gypsies. And suddenly, Ursula lives in Sarsford. So next time we see that Jose Arcadio II develops a relationship with the housekeeper and the fortune teller. And uh, their mother, that is Ursula, intervenes, and Jose Arcadio I left with the gypsies. And all on a sudden, Ursula went to search for his son, and after 6 months, he returned, but she returned without her son. Instead, she brings with her a group of professional people, and who is fashioned Makando's state into the 20th century, into the future filled with material progress. So Ursula comes up with a professional man, and these men are very much famous. And with this man, Ursula established a modern society there. So, and material progress. Pilar Tarnesa bears Jose Arcadio a son, Jose Arcadio, nicknamed Arcadio. The child, however, is raised by his grandparents, and something that indicates both family loyalty and unresolved. So, Jose Arcadio II had a relationship with the housekeeper and the fortune teller, Pilar Teresa, and they give birth a son. And that son was raised by their grandfather and the grandmother. That means Ursula and Jose Arcadio first. In this case, the Buendia family accepts without fanfare or rancor of excess of the son, and who developed an enormous and monstrously uh, vital uh, penis, that means male's organ, during puberty. So for the such kind of physical relationship, they got a different the male organ develops to Arcadia second's son. Pilar Teresa, in return, then fulfills a similar need with Jose Arcadia's second lonely brothers, Aruelina, and later to be Colonel. And not long after bearing Jose Arcadio, the first son, Arcadio, she gives birth Aruelina's son, a boy who is named Aureliano Jose. So again and again, we are entrapped with several stories. So Jose Arcadia son had a relationship with Pilar Tarnesa. They had a son, and that name was Arcadio. Next time, Jose Arcadio the second left the village with Gypsy. At that time, Pilar Tarnesa develops a relationship with uh, uh, lonely brother, Arcadio's lonely brother, uh, Aureliano, and they have a son, and that son's name was Aureliano the Joseph. So such kind of physical relationship is very common in their family. The fantastic coming images that have until now seemed merely rhetorical, because the more elaborate and integral to the novel's fable-like narrative. So in such a way, the story moves. As the villagers began to forget the names of the things, and a Guastilo Indian visit, visitor, visitation arrives in Makando, fleeing her town's plague in plague of insomnia and amnesia. So, an Indian person arrives there in the village of Makando. Why? He left the village for the cause of insomnia. In their country, Indian country, they had the disease, the plague of insomnia and amnesia. And this person left the village and comes in this village, that is Makando. Shortly afterward, this sickness enters Makando. What kind of sickness? Insomnia and amnesia. When the mysterious Rebecca arrives in town, and another female character, Rebecca, arrives in this village, and as soon as Rebecca arrives in this village, the villager starts suffering from insomnia and amnesia. Wow. And we are told then, as a toddler, Aureliano had clairvoyant powers, and he predicted that a cooking pot of his mother's would fail just before it actually did. So the character who is the Aureliano was the son of Aureliano and the clairvoyant, that is the Pilar Tarnesa. So this boy becomes a clairvoyant, a fortune teller, and he tells the thing that happened successively to his mother. Now he foresees the arrival of his stepsister Rebecca, who will brings the plague to Makando. So this fortune teller, Aureliano, said that his first stepsister Rebecca will come with some kind of disease. Now, what is the disease? The disease of insomnia or amnesia. As the villagers began to forget the names of things, as they began to suffer acute amnesia, the illness becomes a metaphor for lost innocence and pre-consciousness. So this is the situation. Makando, the village, started forgetting everything, and they are instead, the insomnia plague has made the town regress to the level of fatal consciousness, awake yet unable to articulate conscious impression. And for the names of the things and the names of the things, functions are lost Language itself apostrophes, and the human consciousness sinks into the animal-like mindlessness. So why such kind of things happen? Actually, um, uh, uh, happens. Insomnia and others. That is one reason that is find out that for the cause of uh, aprophysis. Then, as if by magic, a resurrected Melquiades appears with a cure for this insomnia plague. So this plague can be uh, recovered by another Melquiades visits. Until then, the patriarch of the Buentia clan, Jose Arcadio I, had been fruitlessly trying to preserve the names of the things of a dictionary, and like computer succeeding in making 14,000 entries. So the people are forgetting, and Arcadio I compiling the names of several things. Readers of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, other factions will note the reappearance of the names and the types of the characters from his earlier stories and novellas. So the situation we see that the Gabriel Garcia Marquez has used our names and the story from his earlier novella and short stories, as we have seen. And the use of stock types in keeping with the South American storytelling tradition. So again, such kind of some critics see this tradition as being key factors of the modern European and the South American literature. That means reusing the history and the incidents of the previous writings. In 100 Years of Solitude, Gabriel Garcia Marquez even borrows characteristics appear in the someone else fiction, namely Mexican revolutionary Lorenzo Galivan, borrowed from the novel The Death of the Death from a novel written by Carlos Fuentes. So the story and the names Gabriel Garcia Marquez has borrowed from his previous novel as well as the novels written by the other writers. And that was a tradition, writing tradition of South American literature at that time when Gabriel Garcia Marquez has been writing. With the arrival of the self-proclaimed mayor, Don Apollinaire Moscow in Macondo, the town comes in political ages. So after this, the village Macondo gives a new look when a self-proclaimed mayor comes in this place, and his name is Don Apollinaire Moscow. Moscow is a conservative politician. He orders all the houses of Macondo must be painted blue. That edict lays the seed of civil strife and initiates the makings of the heroic exploits and the future Colonel Aureliano Buendia. The first Aureliano becomes wildly infatuated with the mayor's youngest daughter. So again, we see another incident. The mayor is very much conservative. He ordered all the house should be painted in one color, that is the blue color. But the Ariano, that is the son of Pilar Teresa, and the Ariano, actually the Ariano, the first, he was very much fascinated with the mayor's son, mayor's daughter. But the mayor daughter is pre-adolescent. So Gardia Marquez also uses such kind of relationship to satirize the relationship with uh, young female with in Latin American countries. And this sexual promiscuity imposed on many young females. And Remedios is described as being so young that she still wet the beds. Oh my God. So the mayor's daughter still wets the bed, but that Remedios became the motive of attraction of Aureliano. Okay, so the what happened? Okay, so this small girl child was a matter of attraction in case of Ariano. So such kind of attitude was satirized and common in uh, in uh, Latin American or South American literature, and that attitude was also um, satirized by Gabriel Garcia Marquez in his novel, and for this reason he showed such kind of physical relationship. That means for while manhood is many South American countries presupposes sexual vigor than in men, and and uh, machismo ties male promiscuity in virginity in the macho male sexual partner. So this attitude naturally in South American literature or culture at the time, there was a physical relationship or physical attraction or sexual attraction towards the girl child, and these incidents had been criticized or satirized by Gabriel Garcia Marquez in his writings. Actually, I am doing hurry. We are taking so much time. Once the insomnia and amnesia plague has been cured, Macondo begins to prosper. So for the town receives a small service. There is traffic between Macondo and the other parts of the country. Commerce begin, and Ursula engages Pietro Crepsi, an Italian piano expert, to teach the girls Rebecca and Armando to dance. The Buendia began to have bourgeois aspiration. Yet one notices at the same time that Macondo is a town without an economy. It is an agricultural community. So this is so like so many third world countries, the town must purchase foreign manufactured goods with its raw materials. But the thing is that the Macondo villagers, Macondo, they produce the things that are cheap. However, they have to purchase that other things which are not, which are very much rich. Uh, Macondo slowly moves out of the fantastic isolation, and it slowly is invaded by foreigners, Yankees, and government officials, Arab merchants, and the brutal troops. And in that respect, Macondo may be regarded as the microcosm of the South American history. So the Macondo, in a sense, became the microcosm of the whole South America, and that is done by that our writer Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and he has done it with the presentation of his magic reality. So it is a vacant yet a doomed garden of paradise. Actually, the land of this Macondo is very fertile, but they only can produce the vegetables and the crops that are less expensive, but they have to purchase the machinery from the other parts and that are more expensive, which loses its magical innocence to align values and governmental ideology, Yankee imperialism, inflated um, machismo, and human greed. So this um, village Macondo is very fertile. However, they produce plenty of crops, but their innocence is even the magical innocence. The Macondo before this time had a magic existence, has a appearance of magic things, but they had some innocence. But such kind of innocency of Macondo village have been transferred by the allied imperial power and the greed of human being, and that is done by Gabriel Garcia Marquez in his um, novel. And for the most part, the subplots of the first section concern romance. So in this here we see that in the first part we see the romance of this novel, several kinds of romantic relationship, Rebecca and Armando, Carolina and Remedios, and these romances all have a comic touch to them. And meanwhile, Pilar Teresa announces that she is pregnant with Arena's side. This development all have a Rabellianism color of hysteric comedy. Love is interwoven with farce. And all the characters here are characters of passion, and all seemingly lack a social conscience. So the character we see in the Macondo village, in the first section, all are the romantic character. They are seemingly to take part in physical relationship rather than the social consciousness. So on the other hand, sexual appetite seems all important to this uh, to the first section, first four section. So at the end of the section 4, we see the demise of the Petrarch, and Jose Arcadio Buendi's ghost mapped and haunted by the ghost of Prudencio Aguilera. And this sets the stage of the emergence of Colorado, Jose Arcadio first sons, Ariano. So in such a way, the first four section is end. And as I conclude that South American literature, Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude has become a microcosm of South America. And this Macondo village is a microcosm of South American countries. And in this village, they produce many things, but for exchanging such agricultural production, they can purchase machinery because of the other machineries are very much expensive. So the innocency, however, the magic reality in the Macondo village, through the magic realism, there are some innocency, but such kind of innocency has been violated by the vile presence of the imperialistic power and by the greed of the other people come from other civilizations. So this is the end of this first four section. Most probably this is the most critical section of this novel. So we have done well. So thank you very much for attending the class. Actually, I have taken so many time for